So generational wealth is a good talking point. I know a lot of people talk about, the reasons why, certain families don't have generational wealth because they sold their grandmother's house, this, that, and the other. And I'm saying it firsthand. I don't want to categorize an entire generation, but this generation, I don't think they want that type of generational wealth. Leaving a home isn't necessarily generational wealth. It's not even an asset if it's not paid off. It's a liability. Now, if it's paid off and it's income producing, yes, then there's some wealth. Maybe you've turned it into like some type of rental or some type of Airbnb or something like that. And yes, you can build generational wealth. But from what I am seeing right now, because I was talking to like a coworker and he was like, "Yeah, when my mother passes away, I'm gonna sell her house." I was like, "You don't want it?" He was like, "No, I don't want it." And I'm like, "Wow." And then he was like, I should be between our house and the money in the bank account, it should be about $1 million. So, okay. But my thing is, you don't want the house. Like my grandmother just recently passed away, and she willed the house allegedly because I haven't seen the will. She willed it to her youngest daughter, and her second youngest daughter is like, "Well, just sell the house so I can get my money and I can go buy my own house." And my thing is, my grandma was 96 years old. My grandfather, he passed a long time ago. But they purchased their home in the 70s. And it was a normal home. I say normal because, we went through that phase in America where they were building like Mac mansions. It wasn't a Mac mansion, but it was a nice home in the South. It was actually a brick home, and it had like it was in a neighborhood, and it had a nice sized backyard and a nice sized front yard, nothing like what you get these days. But the thought of my aunt wanting to sell the home, it's sad. It's like my grandparents worked very, very hard for that home. My grandparents were born in the 1920s, so they've seen a lot. And home ownership just didn't come easy back then. And then, from what I understand, way back in the 80s when they were probably financing their home, interest rates was like, what, 13% or something crazy like that. Now, granddaddy was a veteran, so he did have the VA loan guarantee, but I don't think this generation is just interested in home ownership to provide generational wealth. And like I stated earlier, owning a home doesn't necessarily mean generational wealth, but also if it's a nice, decent home, why do people sell it? I used to be a hospice volunteer, and the daughters were like, "Yeah, as soon as mom dies, I'm selling the home." They were going to sell the home, split the home. One of the ladies was going back to Kentucky because she can't stay in the current state that her mother was in. And then the other ones, I guess they were just like indifferent. And I guess the mother also had other rental properties that they didn't want to keep up, and they was selling that too. So maybe when people sell their parents' homes, maybe they invest in other investments or things of that nature. Me personally, my home was built in 2019, so yeah, I'm only like 49 years old. It's nowhere near being paid off. Now, my mother's home is paid off, and her home was built in the 70s. She too has a nice little brick home. So I am the only child, and I plan on keeping that home in the family just because, and by family, for me and my kids and my kids if they want it, but I just want them to keep the home. I don't want them to get rid of the home. So what do you guys feel about selling your parents' homes?